Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This video we're going to be talking about thread break solutions. These are going to be things that we've done before that have helped us out. What to look for, because a lot of times there are simple solutions, and most of the time, guys, it's going to be operator error why you're getting thread breaks. It could be anything from a needle that's dull. It could also be the thread break sensor that's kind of acting up on you a little bit. Your tensions may be off. There may be some burrs on the needle plate. There may be a burr on the rotary hook. So these are going to be a few things that I'm going to be showing you guys, kind of what to look for a little bit about the tension bar. There's a lot of misconception about the tension bar. Some people don't really know much about the tension bar, and we're actually going to be covering that and how it affects your embroidery day-to-day activities. So let's get started, guys. All right, guys, so here recently we actually had a really big job that we did, and it was this particular design. And what that is basically, it's a Hispanic restaurant, and we did about 130 shirts. It was a pretty big job for us. All we did on this job was hooping and going. We set our machines right, we set our tensions correct, every single one of these colors, made sure that everything was right. And then we basically just hooped and went, hooped and went, hooped and went. And it was pretty easy for us to do. We didn't really have a whole lot of issues with this design in particular, mainly because it was digitized properly. You can see the back, everything looks like it's pretty well digitized. There are a lot of ties on the back, but I mean, that's typical whenever you have a design that's multi-part like this and multicolor. Just a few days ago, we actually did another design for another Mexican restaurant, and then this one was actually giving us a lot of trouble. If you can look closely there, you can tell that it's made with a lot of satin columns, and those satin columns were very tiny. You can see it right in there everywhere. And the problem with designs like this is that the density is just really tight. And it's not that it's poorly digitized, but there's really no other way of getting these type of shapes and objects to stitch out right. Can't really use a bean stitch on this because it just wouldn't look right. So you almost have to use satin borders, satin columns. This was a very difficult job for us. We were able to get it done. There was about 50, 60 shirts of these, and we were able to knock them out. But the thing is that to troubleshoot properly, you just have to know when to adjust your speeds lower and when to crank them up higher. Typically, we like to run everything at about 900 to 1,000, but whenever you have designs that are just intricate like that, you just have to slow it down. There's really no other way around it, at least for us. One thing that I did want to show you guys is this right here, and I don't know if you can see that, but let me see if I can get this closer. So this right here, this is your tension bar. You have to make sure that this is adjusted right, and this actually affects a lot of different things. It affects the tension of the thread on the bottom. It doesn't affect it on the top as much as it does on the bottom. But if you're having issues with the thread not pulling out after it cuts it, it could be because this is too much, there's too much slack here. If you lift it up, it's looser, and you can tell that these are a lot looser. And if you pull it down, it creates more tension, and then these become tighter. And so these just can be adjusted with this. So just think of it like as a mode selector. Whenever you're starting to have issues, it's always better to just try to make a quick adjustment here than it is to move any of your top tension. Because I mean, you could throw that out of whack, and it could be something as simple as just this particular design just requires a little bit more or less tension. So that's first thing. Okay guys, so next we're gonna be talking about another common issue, and that is the needle angle. This right here is a template of a 15 degrees positioning, and so you can print it out, and then once you print it out, you can kind of set it on there, and then once you're turning your needle, you can make sure that it's facing the 15 degrees. Sometimes that makes a big difference, guys. I know for us, it does. We always try to shift ours to 15 degrees, and we have pretty good success. Sometimes we still have issues, and What we end up doing is just replacing the thread. I know the other day we were having a lot of issues with the white, and so what we did was we just assumed that maybe it was also could have been an issue with the white thread. So we just replaced the white thread and our issues just went away. You have to understand, sometimes when you buy on Amazon, they may have a warehouse that has these boxes of just thread that's just been sitting around, so you don't know how old or how new that thread is. You may be thinking that your issues are related to something that you're doing, but it's really not. It's just the thread. Sometimes it could just be as easy as swapping out the thread. That's also something that we look at as a possibility as to why you're getting thread breaks. In case you don't know, this sensor right here, this little sensor wheel is actually your thread break sensor. Sometimes the thread may pop off of the thread break sensor and it's giving you a false reading. You actually have your thread still working and it's still connected and everything, but it's just not looping around and it's not turning this wheel. So it may be giving you a false reading. Something else that we like to look at is making sure that there's no burrs on the needle plate, no burrs on the rotary hook. And so I don't have an emery cloth right now, but that's something you can just purchase at your local hardware store, and you just kind of take the needle plate off and then just make sure that you sand it down a little bit. It's like sandpaper, but it's really fine, so it doesn't really leave any kind of hard abrasions or anything. Sometimes you may just try to grab a quick tool and you'll try to take the needle plate off and then you don't realize it, but you hit it and then you nicked it. And so that could be causing a problem as well. One thing that's very important whenever you do get a thread break, you just want to make sure that you follow the route in the path of the thread from the top all the way to the bottom, guys. We've had sometimes issues whenever the spool would be so tightly wound on the bottom that it was just putting way too much tension on the top. And so it was causing issues in general, and then it would have a thread break. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you look at every little aspect from the top of the thread, and you just want to make sure that you unspool it a little bit and make sure that there's no resistance there, all the way down to every single eyelet, to every spring, to every plate, down through this little slinky hose. I mean, every little thing. You just want to examine it almost with a microscope. And that way you can determine what exactly is the problem. Troubleshooting is just something that you just have to, it's trial and error, guys. When you experience something one time and then you experience it again the next time, you know exactly where to start, where to go, and what to kind of look for. Eventually you'll learn a lot of little tips and a lot of little things of what to look for. I do want to also note that sometimes the needle depth can also not be right, and it will cause issues with thread breaks as well. And you just have to take your time whenever you're replacing the needles. You want to make sure that whenever you do replace a needle, that you're pushing it up into the slot where it goes all the way, because if you're in a hurry and you put it in there, you tighten it down, turn it 15 degrees after and then tighten it down, you're going to realize that you're getting issues and you're like, I just replaced the needle, what's going on? Well, sometimes it's just a matter of taking the needle out, putting it back in, and pushing it all the way in so that it fits into the slot. You have a shank on the back of the needle, and that shank has to be perfectly aligned with that rotary hook so that it allows for proper synchronization. And just having that needle off just a little bit can cause problems. So that's something you want to look for as well. Sometimes digitizing can also play a factor. Whenever your design is just too dense, it could also give you issues. It could cause thread breaks as well. As I was mentioning earlier, this design gave us so much trouble, and it was only like 40 or 50 shirts. We had to slow the machines down to about maybe 600, 700, and that's pretty slow for us. However, this design, we didn't have any issues with this one. We were running this at full speed, 1,000, and we ran 150 shirts in 2.5 days. The density, how your design is digitized, also has a lot to do with thread breaks. Well, guys, that's about all we have for this video. I wanted to just make a quick video showcasing a little bit of the troubleshooting tips that we do when it comes to thread breaks. It could be something as simple as the threads are just old, to something like the needle being not in the right degree position. There's a lot of little things to look for. As I mentioned earlier, as time goes on in your embroidery business, you'll just start picking up on these little things that'll make a big difference on getting the jobs done. As always, just hit that like button, Be sure to subscribe if you want to keep seeing more videos like this. We're always willing to help out, and don't be afraid to reach out to us. We have a Facebook. Facebook is Gia Stitch Designs, and we always are open to any kind of messages. If you're having difficulty, just reach out to me. I'm willing to help anybody out. I don't charge anything. We're just sometimes a little bit busy, so I may not be able to reply back instantly, but just reach out. You know, either me or my wife will be able to help you out with whatever you need. We do appreciate everyone following us, subscribing, watching our videos. We're gonna continue to keep making videos, so if you guys have any kind of suggestions on what you'd like to see, just let us know. Thank you guys.